Hey, everybody, this is Mike with Riding in the Ozarks, and we have the lovely Firecracker down there who squeezed in here about 3 seconds before the live started. She was busy doing stuff. And we got my buddy Bagger Bader up there who's improvising tonight because his internet is down in Kansas City. They've got snow, they've got power outages. Are you going to survive? Are you going to be okay up there, Steve?
I don't know. I probably need a couple hot chicks to come up and make sure I don't freeze to death.
Well, it's been nice knowing you.
Yeah. What's the over-under on that in Vegas?
Huh?
What's the over-under on those two chicks showing up at my house in Vegas? Probably not very good.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a betting guy, and I'm definitely not getting in on that one.
Hey,
hang on here.
Firecracker hasn't said anything yet.
About what?
Hey, some married couples say that there's a 150-mile rule.
What's that rule? If you go over 150 miles from each other, anything counts?
Yeah, well, you're single again.
Yeah. This is not one of those relationships. It's pretty rare we get 150 miles from each other anyway. All right. Who do we got all in the chat here tonight? It says we got 24 people in the live already. Give me a shout out there in the chat. Let me know who you are, where you're from. We'll give everybody a chance to get in here. We're going to talk about 2024 touring models, the photo Harley Davidson put on their website. I probably should get that up and get ready to share that. I have not brought that up yet. I didn't get a chance to make a slide out of that, but we can pull up a screen and share that here in a little bit. But we're going to talk about that photo and some of that stuff.
Well, obviously, those are 24 of the smartest sons of bitches alive.
Firecracker, can you see the chat and tell me who all's in the chat?
Evil Rick, riding on 3. Sparky. Brian, I don't know how to say that last name. Behind Ruby's Fairing.
So we got a lot more people than that. The rest of them must be shy. That's all I can say. Yeah. All right. I'm going to get this picture up, and we're going to talk about this. And we're going to talk about the website. So it's been 2 weeks since we got together and talked. And if everybody doesn't know, Harley Davidson has updated their website with the latest models. We'll take a look at that. The big deal to me is that they only put 3 touring models on there. So we're going to talk about what they did put on there, why there's not other stuff on there. And then we'll talk about this picture that's on their homepage. So, Steve, have you got a chance to go out and cruise around their website? I sent Firecracker a link, and I know she cruised around and looked at it a little bit when the stuff first got posted up there.
I haven't. I thought about going to my local dealer over the weekend and just take a peek at what they had, but I didn't make it. But I'm excited about the 24th. I'll be all over it that day.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that are interested in what's going on. So here's their website. And when we go under new motorcycles, we go to the sport, and that's the new Revolution Max Sportster line and stuff. And, these are all carryover models. It means they don't have significant upgrades. They have some paint changes here. I like Baja Orange. I mean, that's not a new color, but I like that. So that's cool to see that on the Nightster Special. The big news for this category is that the Nightster Special and the Nightster got a $1,500 price break. Now, everybody complains, and I'm probably guilty of it myself sometimes, but they'll say that, Harley's too expensive. They raise the price every year. So I think we have to at least acknowledge that they've made an effort, and they have cut the price by $1,500, and they've done away with the surcharge. So that's like $2,000 savings on those particular motorcycles.
Yeah. And being a salesperson, I don't ever want to have to explain additional costs. So good for them to listen to their sales team and put the that added fee into the base price of the bike. It just makes sense.
Yeah, it'd been nice if it would go away, but it's not going to go
Yeah,
away at this point.
yeah,
So let's just make it simple.
yeah.
Wagon leaders are in the house. They said hello. Um, but yeah, the Sportster S didn't get a price break, but the Nightsters did, and I think that's a good call. You know what else got a price break?
I knew there was two of them.
Well, there's three actually. The Pan
Or
America
three.
also.
Yeah, the Pan America went down.
Yeah, so
And then they
the
got
Pan
rid of the base one, right? They just have the special or whatever they
special.
call it.
Yep. So this thing here is $20,000 starting price, and then you got color options and wheel options and some other
Yeah.
things. But we're only seeing the Pan America Special this year so far. Um, Now, one of the things that the graphics are a little new to here, if you haven't noticed this, on this fairing right here, it says 1250 in the paint. Used to be you'd see it on the motor, but you didn't normally see that in the paint or as part of the paint scheme. Some people think that means there's going to be a second model and that they're going to put what it is in the paint to make it easier to differentiate it from something else. I don't know. Those are just there's you know people make a lot of predictions, including me, and you can never tell what the motor company's doing. That's one thing I have learned.
Oh yeah.
And speaking of bikes that are not there, I said this early on that the Fat Bob was not on the color sheet, means it's probably canceled. It's possible it's getting a big upgrade, but it's not on the sheet here. And we got pretty much all the other cruisers from last year. The Softail Standard got a small price increase. The Street Bob got a small price increase. The Lowrider S and the ST and the Breakout and the Fat Boy and the Heritage all got little bigger increases in price.
Yeah.
But that's what we got so far for the cruiser models. But to me, the big news is when you jump over here and you go to the Grand American Touring. Now, I want you to, so in that words, what they've called the touring line now, excuse me, is Grand American Touring. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, 3 words. If you go back and watch their video that they released about the launch date, it says American Dreaming or American Dreaming. So, that kind of hints to me back to the touring line. They're using that word American. Maybe I'm grasping at straws, but the only 3 bikes they put out for the tour bikes are the Road King Special, which we know the Road King Standard disappeared already. So that doesn't surprise me. That may be the only Road King we got, unless they bring the Road King Standard back, which I hope so. I'd like to see them bring it back. Maybe even if they just brought it as a CVO model this year, that'd be something. We got it last year in a different format called the Highway King. Then we got the Road Glide Limited here and the Ultra Limited. And this really freaked people out. So I'm going to take this screen down for just a second. I want to see what you guys think about this. But, if you look at these bikes, the Road Glide Limited and the Ultra Limited, they have the old fairing. They're not running the new style fairing for the CVOs have got and everything else. They're running the traditional fairing. So when the Road Glide 3 came out in dealerships, I had people saying, oh, they're not going to put the new fairing on the touring models because they're not going to run 2 different fairings. Everything's
Right.
going to have the old fairing, but I don't think that's the case. I think we're going to have a mix match. So far, we've only got the old fairing, but we've got more bikes coming on January 24th. So
The
Sparky
only
said,
I was going to say the only reason I would bring the old fairings back this year is to get rid of inventory, so we don't have waste. I'll just be really shocked if they don't. Next year after that, whatever it is, where they all go to the new fairing. That would make sense to me.
yeah. Evan Robertson said the dealers will know what's coming by the 22nd. Yeah, dealers get an early peek. River Bluff baggers are in the house. What's up, Jerry?
Hey, St. Joe
Dallas,
in the house.
Dallas wants to know who's going to St. Louis. So for those of you that don't know what he's talking about is Cycle Showcase, February, the big bike show. Me and April have already made our reservations. Baggers, you get your room reserved?
I did. Same hotel as you.
So everybody on this show's going. You guys in the chat, throw me a message out there. Let me know if you're going to do Cycle Showcase this year. I think Mr. and Mrs. Monkey are coming. That's the word I hear. So they're going to be there too as well. So it's shaping up to be a good crowd as well as a bunch of beautiful bikes. We got Jack in the house over here. Jack is here. Uh, Riding on Threes Tennessee says they're not going to make it. Brian wants to know what are the odds the standard Pan America will be replaced with the 975 special. I don't know if it'll be replaced by a 975, and if it was, I don't know if it would be a special. If they're trying to get the weight down, they might not do the adjustable suspension, the automatic adjusting suspension. They might leave that off to shave weight. So I don't know what the odds are, but it's, I heard that bike was canceled, but we're going to talk more about what's in that first photo because some people think that could be another Pan American. Sparky said he was told by his dealership that the Fat Bob is gone. Witchcraft Cycle Works is here.
Good riddance. I've never been a big fan of that bike.
Dallas said that Penny and I are going Firecracker. Hope we get to hang out again. Well, Dallas, we're going to be there on Friday night. So I'm hoping there's a builder's night again that we can all go hang out at. But I'm glad you're bringing Penny. So Firecracker will have another lady to hang out with.
I plan on having a gal with me too. I just don't know who she is, and I'm hoping I can get her for under $100.
Do you know what her max PSI is?
I don't. That'll be the first test. I'll have some garden hose and a golf ball, and I'll just say,
if she can get the garden,
this, we're good.
If she can get the golf ball through the garden hose, are you going to move up to a chrome hitch?
I might splurge.
So Sparky says they should bring the Road King standard back. What will police departments do? They're still making it for the police departments. They did last year. There are 2023 Road Kings for the police departments, just not for typical customer sales. And my understanding is if a dealership orders them for a police department and they're not picked up within like 60 days or 90 days or something like that, the dealership can then sell them to consumers.
You know what my idea is for a Road King?
So just so, people know, just because it's not for sale to us doesn't mean they're not still selling it. It's like the Sport Glide is not available in the U.S., but it does show on the European markets already again for 2024. So we can't buy a Sport Glide here in the U.S., but Harley's still making that bike. It's the same thing with the Road King. They're not selling to consumers, but they're still selling it for police departments.
Yeah, that's true. But my idea for a Road King is to come out with a Road King ST, and you put the fairing on that they have on the Lowrider ST.
They put fairings, FXRP fairings on Road Kings. It would be a different style, that's for sure.
I think it'd sell.
So behind Rudy's fairing says that he needs to make a decision closer to time. He didn't get a room yet. The Wagonators say they will be there. The hotel is booked.
Oh shit.
03 Road King, yes sir, on St. Louis. Now, guys, I'm not making any promises, but I have reached out to Randall from Cycle Showcase, and I'm hoping to get him on the show before Cycle Showcase gets here. So we'll just have to see if his schedule will work with ours and we can get him on here, but I think that'd be really cool to talk about what all is coming.
Yep.
Witchcraft says, I'm not sure if we're going yet. Don't worry, Ray. Don't worry, Bill. We'll talk to Ray, and she'll make up her mind, and then you'll know if you're going or not. Sport Glide is just a mild lowrider S. Well, that's one way to look at it, but it is a different fairing, and it is forward controls instead of mid controls. And I know those things can all be changed, but again, it is a slightly different look. For a Firecracker, she liked the forward controls, so and she didn't care about having a 114 or a 117. So we got her a used Sport Glide, and she loves it. So, and you like the fairing better on your Sport Glide than the Lowrider S fairing or the ST fairing, right, hon?
She's deep in thought.
Don't get too enthusiastic there. You're not convincing anybody I'm telling the truth. Two Wheel Boomer says they caught us live. Yes, sir. So, do you guys think that because half of the or part of the touring models and the Road Glide 3 and the Tri Glide Trike all have the old fairings, that has anything to do with whether other touring models will get the new styles, or do you think Harley will run two fairings and not blink an eye about doing it?
As I kind of mentioned, the only thing that would be logical to me is if you're going to have two fairings, it's only because you're getting rid of inventory. And I kind of mentioned 2 weeks ago, as a salesperson, I don't want to have to try to sell a prospective buyer on two different fairings. I want to make it simple and have one fairing and be able to explain the wonderful features of that fairing instead of them going back and forth on, well, I don't know, I kind of like the other one. And
so a lot of people think they'll give the CVOs another year of being different, then they'll all be the new ones. That's Rudy says that. Riding on 3 Tennessee says that. Brian says that they'll run both. So, whether they're selling out old inventory, I mean, the question is, if they are not putting the new fairing on the Street Glide Special and the Road Glide Special and all them, then why are they not on the website? Because carryover models are on the website. Things that are not on the website are things that are getting a significant upgrade. So if they're not getting the new fairing and dash, what in the hell are they getting that's keeping them off the website?
Well, the logical answer is that they're getting the upgrades from the CVO.
Well, that's what I think, and I get some people don't think they will, but I mean, that's my question to the people that are saying that. Somebody said VVT and new infotainment center. I don't think anybody's getting the VVT besides the CVOs and maybe the ST line if they keep the ST line. I had somebody suggest they may drop the ST line. I don't know if that's, logical or likely in any way, but I do think that, what I've heard, rumor mill, no evidence, is that they're getting styling and dashes, and the styling and the dash fit together. That dash fits inside that, style fairing. So you can't hardly do one without the other. Ride modes only on the CVO too. No, that's not going to be a thing because you can get ride modes on the other models already. It's called RDS. RDS, the Rider Defensive or Reflex System, or whatever, the RDRS, they renamed it. It's been called a couple of things. But if you pay that $1,000 or $2,000 upgrade, you get a rain mode and some of those things. You may not get a sport mode per se, but they have a couple of modes in that package with traction control and all those hill start, hill control, and all assist and all that stuff. Firecracker looks very, very bored at us talking about touring bikes and technical stuff.
I'm just listening.
Hey,
your audio sounds really good tonight. You're on point there. No
echo. Do I get to give you a ride again this year in the DUI Cruiser?
Well, definitely.
Okay, good.
I'm not going to be driving. I can tell you that right now.
Steve, your light keeps going off. That must be your monitor backlight in your face.
It is.
He's trying to adjust. He's
Guys,
all messed
bear
up.
with me tonight. My computer's all screwed up, and
So Brian mentioned the new CVOs do not have stretch bags. Just for clarification, because I've had this on a comment on the video too. Not all CVOs had stretched bags the last few years. There were a few paint schemes that they did that were on standard bags and not stretched bags. So it's kind of weird through the whole COVID area. I chalked it up to inventory or something. And, this paint scheme, but I can't remember what it was, but there was a Street Glide Special that had standard bags with one paint scheme, and with a different paint scheme, it had stretched bags. So again, you can't just say it's always got this or it's always got that. It's been very odd. And, there was one year where we had paint show up on a bike that wasn't supposed to be something you could order or get according to the color sheet, but a few dealers got them with a random paint color that was supposed to be only on a different model, and it would show up on, a lowrider S or something in a color that wasn't supposed to be available for it. So, I get that. I just don't know that we can count on those things. I think whatever we thought was the rule is kind of going out the window, and you can't tell what they're doing. I've heard that the color sheet I put out had mistakes on it. Some people thought they put mistakes on it on purpose because they knew dealers would leak it. And so they were trying to hide stuff. I don't know, but it's definitely getting interesting, and we're getting close. So, I mean, we'll have time to do maybe, one more live before the launch, the night before the launch, and then we're in.
Man, this is almost like, how many guys were behind the fence and on the grassy knoll. I mean, this is getting serious.
Where did the shot come from?
How many shooters were there?
Salty Badger said hello. He's in the house. Harley Quebec says, I predict no change on fairing. End of the 107, so 114 on all. Now, I've heard 114 on all the touring models, but the 107 still exists on the Softail standard, and the Sport Glide on the international websites is still a 107 as well. So they're not like totally killing that motor. So I don't know.
It could be getting rid of inventory. Who knows?
But my understanding is they're kind of I guess the term is just-in-time inventory system. So they get the parts in just before they build them, so they don't have a big, surplus of inventory laying around. Now, they may have a commitment to buy and so much stock or something from someone over a certain period of time. Maybe that would drive that. I don't know how all that works. If we could get the chief of manufacturing on here from Harley Davidson, I would love for him to explain some of these abnormalities and explain to us how things work. Educate us.
Yeah, get him on here. Come on, Harley.
Dan says, if no VVT, fairing update, or new infotainment was what would set them apart from 23. Seemed like management was insinuating that those changes would make their way to them in 24. I haven't heard management say anything. I'm going to tell you what. I have a couple of people that I can reach out to at Harley Davidson if I have a question, but I've been told point blank, if it has got to do with new product, the response is no comment. They will not comment on any possible future products. Not to me anyway. Maybe you got a way to squeeze information out of them, but I don't.
Firecracker would have the best chance.
I doubt that.
Hey, Mike, how about this? Harley's going to have that celebration every year now in Milwaukee. Do they hold off on a model or two each year and then show them off at that celebration?
Well, and that's the thing, it's hard to say. This is all so new, but I do think that it would make sense to release the Enthusiast or the Icon model at Milwaukee's celebration in July. Those special releases or something like that. Sparky says, I'm sure someone from HD is tuned in here. I don't know if they're tuned in live. I'm sure if I say something wrong, they'll hear about it though. I don't have to worry about that too much. They have told me they, feel I try to be fair. I'm not always on board with everything they say or do, but I try and at least look at it from both sides of the coin.
Well, I mean, we know for a fact that they're listening, so. Which is good. They need to be.
Right. And they're not just listening to me. I mean, there's other people in here in the chat, on the side chat that are creators and stuff. And it's important for all of you guys to understand they may not be reaching out. They may not be commenting on your videos. They don't comment on my videos, but they are listening to content creators of all sizes. Firecracker, when we had a conversation with the Sturgis, would you not say it was pretty apparent that they are paying attention to a lot of creators of different sizes?
Yeah. You
don't have to be blockhead for them to know who you are. That may not mean that they're going to reach out to you necessarily for something, but they're focusing very hard, making a very deliberate effort to establish relationships and, pay attention to what social media and content creators are doing and saying. HD is like Alexa, always listening.
I think the CVOs last year were a clear indicator that they're listening because they nailed so many features that so many Harley owners have asked for. I don't think that's coincidence.
Well, people talk about for the CVO stuff carrying down variable valve timing. That's an example on the new motor, the 121. It's got variable valve timing. They keep saying, well, is anything else getting variable valve timing? If you watch the video on how the variable valve timing works, it all takes place down in the lower cone of the engine. It's in the lower end. It's got nothing to do with the jugs and the pistons and the valves. It's as far as like how those are assembled or how those are controlled. It's all in the lower end. So they could do variable valve timing with a 117 motor if they wanted to, because, I'm sure they could if they wanted to. But the question is, that's another thing that sets the CVO saw off, but it's not the only thing in the 121. There's another feature in there that everybody keeps forgetting: liquid cooling. The new CVOs with the 121 have an all new liquid cooling design that circulates the water to the rear head first, through ports in the head that go around the exhaust valves, and then moves to the front head, which is typically cooler because it gets more air, and then back into the radiator. So the VVT is a important feature of the motor. That's how they're getting more compression and more power. But it's not just VVT, it's also water cooling. That's another thing they could separate the CVO. Even if they put VVT on a 117 and gave it to something like the ST models, they could still say, well, only the CVOs have the new water cooling, only the CVOs have the higher displacement for the motor. There's still things they could do with still bringing some of that technology down.
They could keep the inverted forks just on the CVO.
Yep. My Done Life says, I don't think we'll see much roll down the CVOs this year, but I expect next year to be a big push. Salty says, VVT scares me. The auto industry hasn't able to get it right and is littered with issues. Now, just so everybody knows, if you're not familiar, I've done some research on this. Borg Warner is who they worked with to do the variable valve timing, and they've been doing it in the Revolution Max engines since 2 or 3 years ago. So they've implemented this VVT in the Revolution Max bikes, which are not as popular and widespread as the touring models. And I think that was their test bed before they brought it to, the touring models, and they brought it to the CVO first, and eventually they'll bring it to the other models. But it's a way of ironing out the bugs and the kinks in stages, and things like that.
That makes sense.
But it's not just, yeah. So Doug Cox says fueling has a video on it. I haven't seen fueling's video, but Harley has a video on it. And if you're really good with Google, you can find it. That's all I'm going to say, because it's probably supposed to be behind a passworded login, but it's something I've been able to get to and make a copy of. But it's all through oil, and that's how it works. It's all on the low end. It's all oil controlled with passages through the cam chest and things like that. So I don't know if the variable valve time scares me. I've heard people say it makes it hard to upgrade motors and stuff. I think you have to have the right components to upgrade if you're going to have variable valve timing. But I asked Harley in August when we rode the CVOs point blank if the VVT was going to be upgradable with like stage 1s and stage 2s. And they said yes. There will be upgrades and stage kits for these, even with variable valve timing. That is not going to stop them from putting out, upgrade platforms.
Screaming Eagle and that sort of thing. Interesting.
So Raise the Road says that they can't afford to run multiple suspensions, VVT, non-VVT, water-cooled, non-water-cooled, old fairing versus new fairing. I think 24 will be a transitional year, as was 17. Well, one thing I can say is they run different suspension now. In 15 and 16, I don't know about other years, but I know when I was shopping for my Street Glide, the suspension on the special was different than the suspension on the standard. So it's not like they've not run different suspension on different models with the same body styling in the past. Um, you can talk about whether it makes sense to run VVT and non-VVT or water cooled and not water cooled, but they've been running water cooled touring bikes like the Limiteds have had radiators and those lower fairings for years and have been water cooled. I mean, for several years now, that's been going on. So they have water cooled versions of a 114 and non water cooled versions. So I'm not saying he's wrong, but I'm saying they've done these things. So I would not say that they won't do them. Sparky said, on a side note, thanks for getting back to me. I didn't trade my black 107 Stage 2 for the scorched orange SG Special. Instead of making payments, going to put the money into my current ride. Well, you're welcome. All I did was give you an opinion, though. My opinion's worth about as much as one-ply toilet paper. Boy, you guys are a tough crowd. Nobody will laugh. I did get a grin, but I can't get no laughs.
Sorry about that. You've got me in thought. My mind's kind of racing a little bit on that question or that response you just said, where on having different suspensions, and it seems like my years of being in corporate America would lend me to say that if they're going to have different suspensions, it's because economically it makes sense to do so. Because there's always going to be somebody in corporate America he's the bottom line. And it's all about profit and loss. And so
that's right. And let's be honest. I mean, how many people knew that there was a difference in the shocks in 2016 between the standard and the special? Harley didn't advertise it. You had to know and go out and look and research what's the difference between a special and a standard. When you walked in the dealership, what you knew was, well, the special looks like it's got a different radio and it's got a glossy black inner fairing if you're doing vivid black and the other one doesn't, or, color matched inner fairing or whatever it was. But those cosmetic things you see, but the other stuff, most people didn't notice, didn't realize, and didn't care.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a Harley sales guy one time. I said something about they don't mention this or they don't mention that, and they said most of the customers don't know what that is.
Well, that's true too.
And I'm not trying to say customers are dumb or anything else, but I do think there is a consumer out there that doesn't care, what shocks are on there or anything else at the time of purchase. They're not digging that deep to know what all the differences between the models are. They're looking at the high level. This one looks different than that one. This one's got a better radio than that one, the things they see, but not really what's underneath the saddlebags or whatever else. What are you laughing at, Firecracker?
Because you were going blurry, moving your hand like this.
Oh, am I going in and out of focus?
You were.
Yeah. Hey, did you see that StreamYard has this new feature that you can do touch up and make you look prettier?
Ooh, I need that.
I tried it and it said no can do. Hey, there's Ray's Moto Life. What's up, buddy?
You ugly.
Ray's the Road says their customers they think their customers are not sophisticated. I don't know if it's Harley that thinks they're not sophisticated, or if it's the salespeople, or if that is truly that a lot of the consumers don't know and don't care. I don't know. I mean, obviously we're enthusiasts. That's why we have a YouTube channel and we talk about this stuff. But that doesn't mean that 80% of the customers care about what I care about.
Yeah. Well, I sell a legal document, and I could spend a month explaining the product, and but instead of doing that, I hit the broad strokes. I know that no one wants to sit there and listen to me for over an hour, explain something. So it's pretty typical for most salespeople to just hit the broad strokes and try to get a product.
Sparky just gave me a big compliment here, though. Seriously, if Mike was toilet paper, he'd be John Wayne toilet paper. Rough, tough, and don't take shit off anybody. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
First time I ever heard that was just a couple of years ago. We were on our way down to Moyers, Oklahoma, in fact, and a buddy of mine said that. Goddamn, he had me laughing.
Hey, are you going to Oklahoma this year?
No,
Oh,
I'm not.
we are.
Lucky.
It's
You
it's a
better.
weekend.
You,
It's a weekend after a federal holiday, so it's
you,
like take an extra day to a vacation and make a 5-day trip instead of a 3-day trip.
yeah.
Well,
You
let's
sure you're not going?
let's talk. Let's
You should
talk.
you should talk to your boss and see if you can get the day off.
He's a dick.
I met him.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get in. We've been at this for 35 minutes. Let's get into this photo that is really got people stirred up. We've talked about a lot of stuff. I'm going to share my screen again over here. We're going to go back to the Harley Davidson homepage. So if we go back to the Harley Davidson homepage, I think that'll take me there. This photo right here. So, there's some things here that people have commented that I think we should all talk about and discuss. By the way, I just want you to know that I turned on Chase to Dixon flannels, and so
Speaking
yeah,
of, when's my new one
this-
going to be in?
I don't know. I haven't checked the shipping, but
You
this
better.
one is called Only in a Small Town, and this was a Sturgis special only. You could only buy it there physically in Sturgis. So Chase, you can't have this one. So just want you to know, it's special.
I got the gray and black one in Sturgis.
So, what we have here is a road glide in the front. Is there anything about this that makes you think CVO or not CVO? And I've had some people who are smarter than me comment on my video that picked up on some things and said some things. And, this supports my theory that we're going to get new styling on touring bikes that are not CVO models. We'll get to the center bike in a minute. Don't get ahead of me. So, you see those mirrors?
Yeah.
You see those mirrors? What are those mirrors?
They look like a standard mirror.
They look like a standard mirror. What they don't look like is, I'm going to go to model year, prior model year.
All right,
And we're going to go find the CVOs if we can.
All right.
I hope they're on here. Yeah.
Well, if you don't work for the FBI, you should, Mike.
So that mirror is black. And let's see if we can rotate it. I've been told the shape is slightly different and the mirror is black and the crash bars are black. And this is inverted front forks. So pay attention to what the forks look like.
Okay.
Let me go up here and I'm just going to open this in a new tab and see if it'll let me share it still.
No,
I think I'm
did
sharing
notice,
my tab.
I noticed in the photo it did look like it had the CVO crash bar.
So, yeah. So this one is the video and black mirrors, and they are less tapered is what it looks to me like than the standard mirrors on like the Road Glide. So, Chase has 4 Dixons already. Sarah, you're welcome. You can blame me for the $150 or $200 he spent on Dixons.
I'm not even going to tell you how many I've got. Too many.
All right. I'm going to stop this and I'm going to try and present. This one now. Wow. So I mean, the mirrors are chrome, that's for sure. I can't really tell if they're a different shape or not. Enough that I'm confident to say, oh yeah, those are definitely different mirrors, but they are chrome mirrors. They are chrome crash bars, or at least they appear to be, whether they're satin or chrome or whatever. They don't appear blacked out.
Okay.
Okay, but the one where you showed the video of him riding showed black mirrors.
Right. The CVOs last year all were blacked out. So this
Oh,
bike,
I thought that was the new bikes that you showed riding.
no,
You
those
said
were
they're
CV.
riding.
Yeah, those were
Okay.
2023 models. So the 2023 models were blacked out mirrors, and the 2024s here in this picture, whatever they are, assuming these are 2024s, they're the CVO styling, but they're chrome mirrors. They're not, and it looks like a chrome engine guard. You know, so I don't know what it means, but it to me means there's something different. I can't tell for sure, but I think the forks in this, they're very shadowed out, but I think they're the traditional forks, not the inverted front forks. So non, non-inverted front forks, but new styling to me tells me this is a different model. It's not the CVO. There's no way they'd go back to the previous suspension on the CVO. So this is going to be a non-CVO model.
Right.
And that's part of where I'm coming
Totally
from.
agree with that.
That video I did recently where I broke down the little 30-second, teaser, there's a screenshot in there of the back of a bike, and somebody said, "Oh, that's not a CVO seat. That means these aren't CVOs." Well, right, but you can't tell from that picture if it's got the new front fairing or not, but it kind of looks like it to me. I think that video and all this stuff is teasing us and giving us little hints that, we're going to see styling changes. Now, either they're going to bring CVOs with chrome packages, or they're going to bring us, new touring bikes with CVO styling. And which one, I can't say for sure. Road Glide is non-CVO. Let's see what else. If we got anybody else can pick up on anything here. Ray, Mike, I thought you were spot on catching the bikes on the website. That, along with the fact that they haven't added them yet, makes me sense that the bikes are getting some upgrades. That just kind of, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I just don't know what it is. And Chase thinks I am, in fact, a female body inspector. That's what he said. He said I was FBI. That's what FBI stands for, right? Everybody's got that T-shirt in the closet somewhere from when they were 22 and drunk.
Right.
Now, Jeff says that they'll come in chrome and black.
Yeah.
And that could be, but I don't think that suspension, I mean, I've looked at it under a microscope with, Photoshop and zoomed in and got as high quality as I could. And it looks to me like that is the traditional front suspension. So that would tell me this is still not a CVO in this picture, if I'm right about the suspension in the picture. Mirrors were also skeletonized on the CVOs. Did the CVOs have some black chrome? I rode them, and I think they were all blacked out. I don't think there was black chrome. But, I mean, there might have been some chrome edge cut on the motors or, chrome trim on the motors. But we can go back and look at the photo.
I love that black chrome. A friend of mine's got a CVO with it. It's beautiful.
Fat guy bike inspector. Thanks, Travis. Thank you very much, buddy. Hey, honey, can you find that Christmas card list? I'm gonna make sure his name's not on it. Hey, I want you to know I've lost 4 pounds since Christmas. I'm working on it. Silverized was blacked out, and the Whiskey Neat was chrome. Well, let's see what the pictures show. I rode both, and I've got video, but I don't have it on my computer right now. It's upstairs. I'd have to go get it, of my actual photos I took of the CVOs at Sturgis when I rode them. Prior model year. Let's see if we can confirm that by looking at them. right here, and we'll pull them up and we'll change the color on both. So there is the Whiskey Neat in the Street Glide. And there's it is in the Platinum.
Right.
And if I change the color options, it's chrome exhaust, but it's still black bars in the engine guard area. But the Whiskey Neat did have a chrome looking exhaust last year, where the other one was like a what you would call a silver or satin finish. I don't know what you want to define it as, but that
Right.
only looks to me like it's only the exhaust that's different, not the engine itself. Other than the little trim accents there for the Whiskey Neat.
Mike, are you hoping that they change all the touring model tanks to the new CVO style tank? Or do you like the rounded tank better?
I'll be honest. That's probably not my highest priority. I
Yeah.
could probably live with either tank.
Yeah.
I know I'm probably not going to get everything I want this year, but what I want is VVT. I want inverted front forks. I want Brembo brakes. I like the shorter bags. I like the wider bags. They actually, did make a difference. There's
do
times
too.
there's certain things I put in the bag that they're just not quite wide enough, and I got to smash it in. I care more about the width than I do the depth, and the
Yeah.
stretch bag thing doesn't appeal to me. I like to get down the corner and lean till the exhaust pipe drags or
That's
the
what
floorboard kicks up.
that's what
So,
Firecracker said too. She was telling me she likes the width better than the depth.
so those are not laced wheels. They are I forgot what they call them, but they are like a mag, but they look like a lace, as I recall. But I don't
Yeah.
think they're considered a lace wheel. But we can see what they say in the description here. What they call them.
Yeah.
Um,
It's kind of like half mag, half.
Oh, they do call they call them a cast laced wheel.
Okay.
So, CVOs have black levers, and that's the thing. All these things we say they have until they don't, until they change something, and that's the thing. There's, it's like saying, and I get it because when they killed the Dyna and they came out with the lowrider Softail, I was like, that's an abomination. That's never going to be a lowrider. A lowrider was a Dyna. It's taken me a few years to get over that and get past that because I was a Dyna lowrider guy. That's what my first Harley was, and I was like, that's not a lowrider. They don't have the gauges down on the tank like the lowrider did. That was one of its, trademarks and dual front disc brakes and this and that. And the fact is, it's Harley Davidson's motorcycle. They can call it whatever the hell they want, whether I like it or not. And we don't have to recognize it necessarily as what they call it. But at some point over time, that's what people are going to learn it to be. And it's just like we say the CVOs have, blacked, handlebars or black engine guards, and they have black levers. They do until Harley decides they don't.
That's true. That is true.
That's the reality. Things change. It's sometimes hard, but some people are not happy about the dash. I've had a customer who bought one who said he traded the CVO off, that he had problems with the infotainment center. Like being responsive and slow to boot and things like that. I don't know. I didn't get to play with it enough at Sturgis to say that, it was good or bad. I did play with it and I didn't have response issues, but I didn't have it Bluetooth to anything or hooked up to anything, other than I had it hooked to a phone through USB. So I could play music off of my phone through it. But I didn't experience any of those things. He may have had a lemon, or maybe that is a problem. It's hard to say. Rudy's, they've had handling problems on the CVO, so they've added weight back to the bike. They have had a recall on the CVO Street Glide, and it was reported that there was a handling problem at an excess of 100 miles an hour, and that there was a fix. And I heard one of the fix included a ballast, um, that there was an ECM calibration change, which somebody said they thought they were going to put a limiter on it to keep it from going over 100 miles an hour. I've not been able to confirm any of those things.
Yeah.
If I can get a confirmation in the next month or two, I will, but I've still got to dig into that to see. Are there any rumors of bringing back the Electric Glide Standard 107 in 2024? Not that I've heard of. Yeah, these wheels did exist on a CVO Road Glide before for a specific size. I made a comment in a video that they were new when they came out, and somebody corrected me, and they were right, but they were only on a certain size.
The Electric Glide Standard, was that the one that had the Batwing fairing, but it didn't have a stereo in it?
Right, and it had a 107. So somebody said, "Is the outline of the fairing look more rounded in the picture than the 2023 CVO?" I couldn't tell, but I'm going to tell you, these photos are intentionally um, degraded in quality and shadowed and tweaked and stuff to make it very hard to pick out details. And Harley's been doing that for a year or two, because probably people like me go out and screenshot it or try and get their hands on the original and dig into it frame by frame, like I did the teaser video, to see what I can find. So the more I dig into it, the harder they make it.
And you love every minute of it because you love finding that stuff.
Well, I do enjoy it. Hey, Bri, the biker's here tonight. Hey, Bri, how are you?
Hey, Bri, what's up, buddy? He joined Shark Nose Nation.
Yeah.
He's smart.
What are you trying to imply?
I'm not calling you dumb or anything, but
we're going to go back here to this main picture. We talked about the CVOs and that, again, we're all speculating. These are little things we've seen, little things, if you saw the seat in the teaser video and it was not a CVO seat, does that mean that's not a CVO motorcycle? Or does that mean that the CVO styling is coming to the non-CVO model? What's that mean? So it's hard to say what all this stuff is. That's one thing I've learned after like 3 years of picking apart Harley stuff and trying to find details is just when you think you know what they're going to do, something will change. Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm not. But this photo here, I'm going to share this again. Let's talk about the third bike. We've talked about the other stuff. Let's talk about the third bike in this picture. So this one back here in the back, it's hard to see. I don't know if I can zoom in on it in this, but we'll see. I don't know if I can.
It's definitely not a touring bike.
Yeah. So are those shoulders squared off, or is there maybe some kind of windshield in front of that makes that look more squared right there about shoulder height?
Could be a lowrider ST.
But do you see that much of the handlebars with the lowrider ST?
I don't know.
Somebody said, and I don't disagree, that it looks like an upright metric riding position, straight up and down on the bike, less of a cruiser, or maybe hunched forward. It appears that way, but then again, I can't tell if that person, if that's shoulders we're seeing, or if that's, a windshield and shoulders, what all we're getting there.
It's the Bronx.
There's people who would like to see it be the Bronx. There's people who have said that. There's people who think it's a Pan America 975. I don't know what it is for sure, but why would you include it with these pictures of the new styling and whether these are CVOs or regular bikes if it wasn't important? I mean, it is pitched in the middle of the photo so you see all three. And if I know Harley, that's intentional. That's not an accident. These photos are not, oh, well, that one looks good. We'll just use it.
Well, if it's the Lowrider ST, aren't those the three top selling bikes? The Road Glide, Street Glide, and Lowrider ST?
It could be. And maybe these are CVO models, and that's a third CVO model this year. And maybe it's a non-touring bike CVO. Are they protecting a new rider? Bri, you're so considerate. Hell no. The answer is no. That's not what they're doing. What we actually have is a rider out of formation there who's not riding staggered, and so that's not protecting a new rider. That's something going on. This is for a photo. So the question is, what does it mean? Is it, I think it's significant, but how significant? CVO Softail, that was a thought. What if Bronx is renamed as the Fat Bob? Well, I think that would be a terrible marketing move, but okay. Hey, but man, did you see the Bronx or see the Fat Bob? I'm thinking about buying a Fat Bob, and his buddy's going to say, you mean that thing with the pill-looking headlight?
Yeah, that headlight, I've never been a fan. And I don't like the big fat tire on the front either. I'm just not a fan of that.
Yeah. I know Bryce said something about this is Bogan shows the 350 today. So Bogan's, I haven't watched his video, but I know I saw his post that Harley Davidson gave him an X350 to raffle off, I think it is, for charity. But Bogan is in Australia. The 350 has been released in Australia for months now. I mean, that's a standard model down there in Australia that they are selling is the X350 and the X500. It's not coming to the US, but it's not, they basically just gave him the cheapest bike they can give him to use for charity purposes. And that's not a knock. I mean, that's great that they're doing that, but that is a standard model that any dealership down there can sell to people.
Right. And for whatever this is worth, it's Harley Davidson Australia that gave him the bike.
Yeah. He said Harley Davidson corporate, whether, whatever, I don't know. I mean, how all that works out. Yeah, right. It's no big deal. I'm not knocking. I'm just saying a lot of people don't know. I know because I did a video on the 350 about it coming to America because it showed up in an owner's manual here in the US. And I got a message from Harley Davidson with an official statement saying the 350 is destined for Asian markets only, and it will not be sold in the US. Unfortunately, Australia, as far as territory is concerned, is part of the Asian market. So Australia's been getting the 350s. I have a contact down there who has sent me numerous emails and pictures and talked to me about some of the stuff that goes on down there. So I kind of get to stay in a great, loop about some of the things that are going on down under. One of the things he sent me a picture, they had like a Harley, rally day thing at a track or something. It's like their Hog Day International or whatever, kind of like the homecoming rally or something, but they had that down there. And he sent me a picture of a Nightster with a turbo on it. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. I did watch the video, by the way. It's a good looking little bike.
Yeah, the 350 is used for the riding school here in the US, but it's not for sale to consumers.
Yeah.
But yeah, here in the US, it's the X350 RA, and the RA stands for Riding Academy, as I understand it. Firecracker, are you playing video games on your phone again?
No, I'm not. I'm looking up somebody on YouTube. Don't worry about what I'm doing.
Oh, boy, she's put me in check, didn't she?
She sure did. She told you what the hell was going
on. I think this new model is to compete against the FTR Super Hooligan races. What I'd love to see is, we've talked about this, me and Steve have talked about this, is a Pan America 1250 restyled like Saddleman's, super hooligan bike, and that would be awesome. That'd
Way
be
awesome.
that'd be a cool bike. Whether if we don't get the Bronx, let's just redo the Pan America and call it, Bronx 2.0.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of the same look, but that Saddleman bike takes it to another level.
Yeah. Yeah, they're doing some cool stuff in the racing stuff. Speaking of racing, Firecracker, are you excited to go see King of the Baggers when we go to
Yep.
Daytona in March?
Yes.
We've got our flights booked for Daytona. So flights are booked, rooms are booked. We're all set for Daytona. That is done.
It's going to be a good time.
That's our honeymoon vacation.
Except we got one of our guy friends going with us.
Yeah, that's okay. I can send him out for popcorn.
He can video.
They sell popcorn over in Orlando.
He can be your videographer. He can be your historian.
Dan
Can you
says
move
there
a
ain't
little
true
to the left?
ain't true to a new performance-centric King of the Bagger style bike in the touring lineup. Well, some people might say the CVO styling is performance-oriented King of the Bagger style. Shorter bags, inverted front forks, Brembo brakes,
Better rear suspension. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's what somebody's referring to. I haven't heard anything as like serious performance bike, but that doesn't mean it's not something that could be happening. I just haven't heard anything. I believe it or not, I don't know every rumor. I just know what I hear and share what I hear, and sometimes what I think is likely or I think makes sense.
I believe everything I read. I write it down and then I read it.
Rudy said that was clearly a STFU. Yeah, she doesn't like it when I call her out online. What are you doing? Shane said his girlfriend just rode the 350 HD 2 weeks ago to class in Texas. So Shane, what'd she think of it? What model is due for an upgrade? Maybe that will solve the mystery. I don't know. I'm going to tell you guys, I am working on a video. I got to get some time to edit it up. I hopefully will get to work on it this weekend, because next weekend I'm not going to get to work on anything. 2 weeks from, a week and a half from now, my daughter moves out of state for college, and we are going to go help drop her and her stuff off in her very first apartment. She got approved for her apartment today. She's starting her junior year of college out of state. So, that weekend will be shot, because the Firecracker is not going to drive the whole weekend and let me play on the computer. I can tell you that. Not in Nebraska in the snow. So I got a week to get some videos out, and then, we'll be back here for the premiere on the 24th. I'll make a video sometime, that day or two following. I may not get something out the same day, because I like to actually go through the data and make sure I got it right before I announce stuff or go through stuff. So Shane said his girlfriend hated it. Was it too small, too weak? What did she hate about it? Was it cheap, like hot, cheap made? Didn't feel like quality product? I'm curious. I haven't got to see one yet. Doug, I have not found if they're going to use the 121 this year, but I'm pretty positive they're going to use it in the CVO, but I don't know about anything else. And I seriously doubt, if I was Harley, there's no way I would put the 121 in anything else. If I was going to do some other kind of upgrade, I'd put variable valve timing in a 117, as the premier touring bike below the CVO line, but I wouldn't give it a 121 6 months after I just came out with that for CVO owners. Yeah. They've got to keep that protection of that CVO being just a little bit more than everybody else to demand that price tag.
Yep.
CVO without all the P&A. And that is to a point true, but now with the ST and the CVO having inverted front forks, it's not quite the same. So that's what I would like to see, is you have the CVO, the 121, all the bells and whistles, all the chrome, heated hand grips and heated seats and whatever else, power butt wiper, all that good stuff. Then the next step down would be the ST. And when I say a step down, it's not a kick toward the special, but the ST would get like a 117 with variable valve timing, the inverted front forks, the Brembo brakes, and then you would drop down to a special and you would get a 117 maybe without the variable valve timing, without the Brembo brakes, without the inverted front forks. And if you're the guy that wants to lay it down the corner until the floorboards drag, you buy the ST model. If you're the guy that just wants to cruise down the highway and not build a performance bike, then the special is the place you go to have all of those features, but without paying for the extra performance parts. That is eventually where I would like to see them get this lineup at. And I think that would make enough differentiation between the models that it makes more sense. I think the first STs with just having, different bags and taller shocks in the rear was not a significant, and it had a bigger motor, but it was not a significant change. You could do a stage one and, a suspension upgrade and have essentially the same thing. So I think inverted front forks and Brembo brakes, the rate, somebody corrected me on this and they said the brakes on the special now are Brembos, and they're Harley Davidson branded Brembos, but they're not radially mounted. They're not the radially mounted Brembos that are on the Pan America, which is what is now on the CVO. So those are the brakes I'm talking about. So what do you think, Steve? You're a bagger guy. What do you think of my theory? CVO, ST with the step down in performance, then a special without quite the performance stuff. And then you have your standard for the guy that can't afford anything else, but just wants to get into a touring bike.
So I agree with everything you said, but let me throw a wrench in there. What if they don't want to have 4 different models? They could, what I would do then is I would take the special and make that the ST model with the inverted forks and the upgraded suspension.
You mean if they got rid of the ST?
Yeah. In other words, if they get rid of the ST, put the ST components into the special, and now you have 3 different models.
Well,
but if they don't do that, then I like your concept.
Well, what about this? Well, if we do my concept and we just kill the base model and we only have the ST and the special and we get rid of the cheapest bike they have, where do you think the profit's at for Harley Davidson? The higher the price tag, the higher the margin. So what do you think makes more sense to them from a bottom line perspective?
It would depend on how many people financially have to buy the standard because they can't afford to take the step up to the special or the ST. I think there's the answer.
Yeah. I would love to get access to the sales data by models, but that's like several $1,000s, and you have to be like a member of a dealership to even apply for it. There is a group you can join. So if anybody wants to hire me for their dealership as a consultant and get me access to that, let's talk. Because I could talk a lot more about some of this stuff. So Shane said that it's made in China, which, we knew. So it's designed for people who are, it isn't designed for people that are taller than 5'5". The peg location is high. It doesn't have a low center of gravity.
That's why Bogan liked it so much.
Right. Well, so Sparky said what I said. Here's the question. Here's HD's question. What sells more units or profit? And that's the thing. I think if the special has more profit in it and they sell more units of the special, then you kill the standard and you have the special as the base model. You have the ST as the performance model, and you have the CVO as the luxury model to have it all.
Yeah. If we could ever get the president of sales from Harley Davidson on, I've been in sales for 35 years. I would love to pick his brain.
So, I doubt that's going to happen because there are certain things that they're not going to talk about, including new products and probably sales numbers by model.
Yeah, I don't think he'd probably give us a lot.
So, does anybody else in here in the chat watch Cruisy Originals? Did anybody else see the video about the latte?
I watch him a little bit.
So I watched Ryan some, and he had a short. I guess I missed the first video that went viral, but he was, having a rough day, and he was complaining about Harley Davidson and the latte drinking MFers at corporate who, designed something or that allows this to be designed or whatever. I missed that video, but then he did a video where he's drinking a latte and he says, "Hey, I just want to give a shout out. We did a video and it got taken out of context a little bit, but I was having a bad day and I was griping and I said something about the latte drinking mother effers at Harley Davidson corporate. So they sent me a latte and said, from your latte drinking friends at Harley Davidson." And he said, kudos to them for having a sense of humor.
Absolutely.
And that's not a prop. That's a real story because I've confirmed it. Yes, he was sent a latte by Harley Davidson. So when I say they're paying attention, I'm not kidding. They're paying attention.
I'm still planning on going to Arizona Bike Week. I would love to run into him though, because he is funny.
He's bringing that 70s porn stash back too.
He is. Hey, he likes to arm wrestle, Mike. So maybe the two of you could have a arm wrestle.
No, he ripped my arm off. He actually works out.
He does.
I'm just fat.
Yeah, but you held your own down there at Moyers.
Yeah, that hurt for 2 weeks. All right, so CVOs, touring bikes. I think we've hit all that stuff. Hey, Lone Cowboy Adventures, Evil Rick, everybody that's in the chat tonight. We've been up around 60 people, so it's definitely something people are interested in and wanting to talk about. You guys throw me a comment in the chat if there was any bike, and I'm not talking the Panhead, but if there was any like recent model that Harley Davidson has discontinued in the last 5 or 10 years that you'd like to see them bring back in 2024, what would it be? The Road King, the Deluxe, the Sport Glide, the Electra Glide, the Sportster with EPA compliant engine so they can sell it everywhere? You know what?
My number one is always going to be the Deluxe. I still cannot believe they got rid of the Deluxe.
Sparky, we're not going back to the AMF, man. I'm sorry. That's too far back. I said 10 years. It's got to be something that they could possibly make EPA compliant. Somebody asked me about the SMW, I think it is, or SWM Sportster. And they're making that Euro 5 compliant or whatever. And they're like, if they can do it, why couldn't Harley do it? And Harley didn't say they couldn't do it. What they said was it wasn't cost effective to do it. So, I don't know what that means. And I haven't been able to find pricing on this SWM Sportster to see what that's going to be. Cause just because they made it doesn't mean it's cost effective or, that they can make it at a production level that's affordable or that they can make a lot of them to fill the demand. Those things are all the tricks.
I have a question for you. I forgot on this. On the Lowrider ST, I know this is off of what you guys are talking about. Did it come with a stereo or was it that an extra option?
Extra.
That's a add-on, and it's a Rockford Fosgate speaker system with an amp in it that Bluetooths to your phone.
Okay, so
it would operate kind of like your speakers do, except it's built into the fairing.
Here's what I would say. Even though I think it would be nice if they did a bike like a Softail or something that came with a stereo system already installed. Come up with a way to do that. Because that's something that I feel people that like that size of bike, that's an option they don't really have in anything. And I think they should come up with a bike that has that option.
Well, the ST has it, but again, you pay extra for it.
Right.
And like every other Softail, you could do handlebar speakers of some kind and pay extra for them. So you're wanting them to make another fairing bike, but with speakers in it, or you just want them to make the speakers standard on the ST?
I think it I think it would either I think there should be a couple options.
Something
I mean,
besides the
like
ST.
on mine, it would have been nice if I had the option to have a even just to have the option,
Yeah.
you know, um, because we had to. I mean, we were going to anyways, but to put speakers on, it was either put them way down where you couldn't hear them good or go taller on my bars, which luckily I needed to anyways. But it still takes up space trying to
Yeah.
get good enough speakers that are loud enough. It'd be nice if they had some kind of an option um, with some kind of a fairing or something where women could, not just women, but men that like those have that option, more options on those bikes like the Softails and stuff that you could get a stereo system. My opinion.
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay.
no, that's a fair opinion. I think that what I hear is guys riders that have a bike that don't have a fairing typically will wear a full faced helmet and they'll have their music run through their helmet.
Right. And I wear my full face helmet when it's cold outside or it's raining. But
Right.
other than that, but
Yeah.
I still, when we tried to do that, then we had the intercom systems. And so trying to switch back and forth when Mike wanted to talk to me, it just aggravated me. Um, but I just think it would be a nicer option to of something on those because I'd rather have the music on my bike and not have to be messing with my, because on my bike, you know, I just feel that it would be a lot nicer. I don't know.
I totally agree.
I guess my
Part
thing is from a Harley Davidson perspective, they're going to say we make what you want, you just pay extra for it. That way people that don't want it don't have to pay for it. And that's always the trade-off with anything you make standard. So we'll touch on this real quick. The Street Bob and the Softail Standard do not have ABS standard right now. In 2024, that ABS is not standard, it's still optional. Their price increase was only $400 to $600, somewhere in there.
right.
The Lowrider ST and the Lowrider S and some of these others, the price went up more like $1,200 to $1,800 because some of them got traction control built in. So they added this feature. ABS was standard on some, not on others. Traction control was not standard on some, things like that. Well, now a bunch of them have ABS and traction control standard, and you're going to pay for it whether you want it or not. And I think that's the problem for Harley Davidson with the speaker thing. If you have a fairing, then it's not so bad. But even like with the Lowrider ST, that upgrades $1,000. If you're the guy who wants to wear a helmet and listen to music through your helmet anyway, you don't want to pay the $1,000 for the stereo that you don't want to use because you're using your helmet. But if you're the person that wants it, then you just pay the $1,000 to have it, and everybody else doesn't have to pay for it. And that's the price problem that you get into with where you make it standard. And that's what they've done with the Lowrider ST. The question is, like on your bike, could they fit speakers into that fairing? Not the way it's shaped right now. Not enough of a speaker to make a big difference. You could put a little bigger speaker on there. You could, like we've talked about, you could do an FXRP fairing. You can do a Lowrider ST fairing from Advan Black now, but we'd have to get it painted purple, but
I
it'll
was just
fit your
gonna
sport
say,
glide. And then you can put that Rockford Fosgate stereo system in there.
Are you going to buy that for your wife?
how much do you love her, Mike?
You know,
He's
look at
he's
Bill's
like,
comment here. I don't need a radio. I just listen to the pipes and the
okay.
voices in my head. Thanks, Bill. That's a great
Hey,
topic. Let's talk about that.
hey, wait. Okay, so let's just let you deal with that for a while. Just go unplug all that radio where you don't have that stuff.
But I paid extra for it. I mean, there was a radio that came in my bike, but as you recall, when we were going to go to Sturgis,
Yeah,
somebody said that's not going to be loud enough, and I paid for an upgrade for you already. Then you
you
decided you
didn't
wanted to
do
ride a
that for
different
me.
bike.
You
Oh
did not
yeah.
do that for me. You did that for yourself. Quit lying. You're a liar.
Now, April, if you want, you could go to Advan Black's website, and they do make a fairing like yours, like an ST fairing that is, and you can put the Rockford Fosgate system in it. Just if you want to take a look at it.
Alan, where's Alan? Is Alan in the
Yeah, where's
chat
Alan
tonight?
at? Surely he's out there, isn't he? And he one of the
Alan,
60?
Alan, make her a deal on a primered, you know, what they're calling the base paint color, primered fairing, and then we'll get it custom painted to match. And then we'll talk to Rockford Fosgate about, the speaker system.
Yeah, if you do an install, it might work you a deal like some of these other channels.
Well, we looked at the Clockwork ones,
yeah,
and the only Rockford was the only one we could get speakers for it, right? They were the only ones that had the size to fit it.
there was
That's
maybe a couple other options, but there's not like just a standard, here's the kit, this is what you need. Chase says I really only use his speakers to crank up some White Snake on the strip.
White Snake.
You know, it's a conundrum. I mean, I do get what you're saying about the speakers and wanting other options there, but then it's the same thing as like the traction control. I don't want to pay for traction control if I don't want it, but then they make it standard.
But what I'm saying is, it could be an option. It could be an option.
Yeah.
I mean, but my personal opinion, they should bring back the Sport Glide and come up with a way for speakers and the sound system in there.
Yeah.
Because then then I might have to.
You want a Rockford Fosgate audio system that embeds into the Sport Glide fairings. What you want?
Yeah,
that's really what we've gotten down to. Doug said, "How can I watch the launch?" Doug, I always just go to the YouTube channel. You can sign up on their website, and they'll send you like an email with a link or whatever. And usually, it's like on the website. I think sometimes as well, but that's where their link takes you. But I just go to YouTube and I watch it live right there on YouTube.
That's what
I found that's worked better for me to not have glitches or pauses and things like that.
That's what I did last year as well. Didn't they do it like in the morning? Wasn't it like around 10 o'clock or something?
Yeah, it's going to be 10 o'clock on the 24th, my time. 10 o'clock.
Central time.
Yeah. Magically, I have a doctor's appointment at 9:45 that day.
You better tell him to hurry his ass up.
No, I'm telling work I have a doctor's appointment at 9:45 that day.
Don't worry about the lube, Doc. Don't worry about it. Just go in there and dry.
Harley has a YouTube channel. Yes, Harley Davidson has a YouTube channel.
They certainly do.
They do their teasers on there. They do their launch video on there. Now, the launch video may or may not stay up after the launch. I mean, like, I don't know how long they leave it up, but they do videos on products on there, things like that as well. They sometimes do features on builders or things like that, racing stuff, King of the Baggers. They'll have videos about that. They had a really good one about the King of the Baggers and Kyle Wyman and the racers and stuff. And that was like 45 minutes and it was a really good one. So, all right, guys, we've been at it for an hour and a half. I think we've had a lot of great conversation. I think the fact is we will maybe have some more rumors in 2 weeks because it'll be the night before the launch. I believe that's right. 2 weeks from now will be the 23rd, the night before the launch. So come on back here. We'll do another live on the 23rd at 7 o'clock on a Tuesday night, and we will go over the latest rumors because by then the dealers should have some information and things may have leaked, in that final few hours before the launch. So if there's any new news by then, that'll be the night to talk about it. We'll talk about that stuff that night, see if there's anything new going on. I'll also see if I can get Randall up in here maybe on the 23rd or the 6th, because after that, we're into Cycle Showcase. And I appreciate everybody coming out, supporting the channel, being part of the conversation. And as always, y'all stay safe and keep on riding.
Peace.
Tell them good night, Firecracker.
Good night.
All right. Thank you, guys.